The hum of advanced machinery filled the air as Dr. Xyloff adjusted his ocular sensors. His tentacles danced across the holographic interface, inputting the latest data from their Galactic survey. The Omniscience, a state-of-the-art research station, hung silently in the void, its crystalline structures refracting starlight into a dazzling array of colors. "Dr. Xyloff, the results from the Regellian strength tests are in," chirped Mira, his avian assistant. Her iridescent feathers ruffled with excitement as she projected the findings onto the main screen. Xyloff's epidermis shifted to a contemplative shade of blue. "Fascinating. Their musculature is impressive for a species from a 1.2G world. Add it to the database, Mira." For centuries, the Galactic Consortium of Sciences had been compiling data on the physical capabilities of sentient species across the known universe. Their work formed the backbone of the Galactic Classification System, a complex matrix of planetary conditions, evolutionary paths, and physiological attributes that determined a species' place in the cosmic hierarchy. Dr. Akriz, a gelatinous mass of neural networks, oozed into the room. "Any word on our next subject, Xyloff? The consortium is getting impatient for more data on frontier worlds." "Actually, yes," Xyloff's skin rippled with anticipation. "We've finally gotten clearance to study a species from a Class 12 Deathworld. They call themselves humans." The room fell silent. Class 12 worlds were considered theoretical extremes, planets so harsh that the evolution of sapient life was deemed nearly impossible. Mira's beak clacked nervously. "But how? The gravitational forces alone should—" "I know," Xyloff interrupted, his voice tinged with both excitement and apprehension. "That's why this is so important. If we can understand how life not only survives but thrives in such conditions, it could revolutionize our understanding of biology itself." Dr. Akriz pulsed thoughtfully. "When does the specimen arrive?" As if on cue, the station's AI chimed in. "Attention all personnel. Unidentified vessel approaching. Preliminary scans indicate unknown configuration and materials. Brace for potential reality distortion." The three scientists exchanged looks of confusion and alarm. Unknown configuration? Reality distortion? What manner of beings were these humans? The docking bay's energy field shimmered as a sleek, metallic craft unlike anything they'd ever seen before eased through. Its hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, and strange symbols adorned its surface. With a hiss of equalizing pressure, a hatch opened. The assembled research team held their breath, or equivalent respiratory functions, as a figure emerged. It was underwhelming at first glance. Bipedal, roughly symmetrical, with a curious lack of apparent defensive structures or natural weapons. But as the being strode confidently towards them, there was something in its gait, in the casual power of its movements, that sent a shiver through the watching aliens. The human smiled, revealing disconcertingly white teeth. "Greetings. I'm Lieutenant Kira Donovan of the Terran Exploratory Forces. I hear you folks are interested in a little workout?" Dr. Xyloff's skin cycled through a rainbow of emotions. Somehow, he knew that everything was about to change. The observation chamber hummed with anticipation as Lieutenant Kira Donovan stood at the center, her muscular frame dwarfed by the array of alien scientific equipment surrounding her. Dr. Xyloff's tentacles flew across the control panel, initiating the first round of tests. "We'll start with something simple." Xyloff's voice crackled through the intercom. "Just a basic assessment of your strength and endurance. Please lift the weight before you until you can no longer do so." Kira glanced at the metallic cube, roughly the size of a small car. She smirked. "Sure thing, Doc, but you might want to add a few more of these." Before Xyloff could respond, Kira gripped the cube and hoisted it overhead with a grunt. The alien scientists watched in stunned silence as she began a series of clean and jerks, the massive weight rising and falling with metronomic precision. After 50 repetitions, Kira set the cube down, barely breaking a sweat. "Got anything heavier?" Mira's feathers stood on end. "Impossible. The gravitational force required to." "Calm yourself, Mira," Dr. Akriz interjected, his gelatinous form rippling with excitement. "We're merely scratching the surface. Lieutenant Donovan, would you mind demonstrating your, what did you call it, routine exercise?" Kira's eyes lit up. "With pleasure. Got any open space around here?" The research team led her to a cavernous chamber typically used for zero-gravity experiments. Kira stepped into the center, and took a deep breath. "Computer!" she barked. "Run Terran Training Simulation Alpha 9. Gravity set to Earth standard." The air shimmered as holographic obstacles and targets materialized throughout the room. Simultaneously, the aliens felt a crushing weight descend upon them as the chamber's gravity increased dramatically. What is this?" Xylof gasped, his tentacles straining against the increased force. Kira, however, seemed utterly unfazed. "Just a little parkour with some combat drills thrown in. Watch and learn, folks." What followed was nothing short of miraculous to the alien observers. Kira launched herself into a blur of motion, leaping impossible distances, scaling sheer walls, and weaving through a hail of simulated weapons fire. Her movements were a perfect fusion of raw power and fluid grace, defying what the scientists believed possible for organic beings. After 20 grueling minutes that left the alien researchers in awe, Kira finally came to a stop, breathing heavily but grinning from ear to ear. "So," she panted, wiping sweat from her brow, "that's my warm-up? Ready for the real workout?" Dr. Ekriz's neural networks fired in frenzied patterns. "Warm up? You mean to tell us there's more?" Kira laughed, a sound that sent shivers through the alien's various sensory organs. "Oh, we're just getting started. On Earth, we've got a saying, no pain, no gain. Trust me, you haven't seen anything yet." As the human prepared for her next demonstration, the alien scientists huddled together, their worldviews crumbling before their eyes. "This changes everything," Xylof whispered, his skin a kaleidoscope of conflicting emotions. "If this is what passes for routine on a Class 12 world, our entire understanding of galactic biology is utterly wrong," Mira finished, her usual chirp reduced to a stunned squawk. Dr. Ekriz pulsed thoughtfully. "We need to recalibrate all our equipment, run new simulations. The consortium must be informed immediately." As the team scrambled to adjust their protocols, Kira's voice rang out once more. "Hey, Docs, you wouldn't happen to have any antimatter weights lying around, would you? I'm thinking it's time to push past my usual limits." The aliens exchanged looks of pure, unadulterated terror. What had they gotten themselves into? The Omniscience's main laboratory buzzed with frenetic energy as Dr. Xylof and his team pored over mountains of data. Holographic displays flickered with rapidly changing figures, each new calculation sending ripples of disbelief through the assembled scientists. "It simply doesn't add up," Mira squawked, her feathers in complete disarray. "According to everything we know about biochemistry, the human cellular structure should have collapsed under that kind of strain." Dr. Ekriz oozed thoughtfully across a series of complex equations. And yet, not only did it withstand the pressure, but it thrived. Fascinating. Lieutenant Kira Donovan lounged in a specially reinforced chair, munching on a protein bar as she watched the aliens scramble. "You guys okay over there? Looked like you were about to have a collective aneurysm during the deadlift session." Xylof's skin rippled with a mix of frustration and excitement. "Lieutenant, you must understand, your physical capabilities aren't just impressive, they're paradigm-shattering. We're having to rethink centuries of established galactic biology." Kira shrugged, a gesture that sent new waves of data scrolling across the nearby screens as sensors tracked her muscle movements. "I mean, I'm pretty fit, but I'm not even close to our top athletes. You should see our gravity ball players in action." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Mira's beak hung open in shock. "There are more of you? More powerful?" "Oh yeah," Kira grinned, oblivious to the existential crisis she was inducing. "Billions of us, actually. All shapes and sizes, adapted to pretty much every environment Earth can throw at us, which, let me tell you, is a lot." Dr. Ekriz pulsed rapidly, his neural networks firing in overdrive. "Tell us more about your world, Lieutenant. We need to understand the conditions that forged such badasses," Kira offered with a smirk. "Precisely," Xylof exclaimed, tentacles flying across holographic interfaces. "What manner of hellscape could produce beings like you?" Kira's eyes gleamed as she launched into a description of Earth. She spoke of towering mountains and crushing ocean depths, of blistering deserts and frozen tundras. She regaled them with tales of catastrophic natural disasters, earthquakes, hurricanes, volcanic eruptions that humans not only survived, but learned to predict and sometimes even control. With each new revelation, the alien scientists felt their understanding of the universe shift. They had classified Earth as a death world, yes, but they had grossly underestimated what that truly meant. And you're saying, Mira interjected, her voice quavering, that humans have not just survived these conditions, but actively seek them out? For fun. Kira nodded enthusiastically. Oh yeah, extreme sports are huge back home. Skydiving, deep-sea diving, ultramarathons through the harshest deserts, you name it. Someone's probably turned it into a competition. Dr. Akriz's gelatinous form trembled with a mixture of fear and awe. It appears we've been looking at this all wrong. We've been classifying worlds based on their hostility to life, but perhaps it's the very crucible of adversity that forges true resilience. Xylof's skin turned a deep, contemplative blue. The implications are staggering. Our entire galactic classification system will need to be overhauled. Species we once thought fragile may possess hidden strengths, while those we considered apex beings might be. Soft, Kira finished, crumpling her protein bar wrapper with a force that made the nearby equipment shudder. No offense, but from what I've seen, most of the galaxy's been living life on easy mode. The scientists exchanged worried glances. If humans considered their nightmarish conditions normal, what did that mean for the rest of galactic civilization? We need to dig deeper, Xylof declared, his voice filled with newfound determination. Lieutenant Donovan, would you be willing to undergo more extensive testing? We need to understand the full range of human adaptability. Kira's grin widened, sending an involuntary shudder through her alien observers. Bring it on, Doc. Just remember, on Earth, we've got another saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Hope you're ready to see just how strong we can get. As the team prepared for a new battery of tests, a sense of both excitement and trepidation filled the air. They stood on the brink of a new era in galactic understanding, with humanity poised to redefine the very concepts of life and resilience. Little did they know, the true tests were yet to come. The news spread like wildfire across the galactic scientific community. Encrypted transmissions bounced between research stations, universities, and think tanks. Urgent meetings were called, and venerable institutions found themselves in upheaval. On the Omniscience, Dr. Xylof faced a barrage of holographic projections, each one featuring a different species' scientific representative. This is preposterous, bellowed Archmentor Zix of the Vale Nebula Academy. His crystalline form vibrated with indignation. Are we to believe that all our centuries of careful classification are to be undone by a single specimen? Xylof's tentacles waved in a placating gesture. Not undone, Archmentor. Expanded. The human's capabilities force us to reconsider. Reconsider? The interruption came from Professor Quilks, her gelatinous form roiling with agitation. Do you have any idea of the chaos this will cause? Entire planetary economies are based on our current understanding of species capabilities. The debate raged on, with accusations of faulty methodology and demands for peer review flying back and forth. Xylof felt his chromatophores cycling through a spectrum of stressed colors. Meanwhile, in the station's reinforced gymnasium, Lieutenant Kira Donovan continued her light workout routine, blissfully unaware of the storm she had triggered. Hey, Mira, Kira called out between sets of impossibly heavy lifts. Want to join in? I could show you some basic calisthenics. The avian scientist, who had been tasked with monitoring the human's vital signs, let out a terrified squawk. And no thank you. I prefer my bones unshattered and my organs intact. Kira shrugged, her casual movement causing nearby equipment to rattle. Suit yourself, but you're missing out on some serious gains. As Kira resumed her exercises, Mira's communicator chirped urgently. She glanced at the message and felt her feathers stand on end. Oh no, she muttered. Back in the main lab, the holographic argument had reached a fever pitch. I demand access to this human, insisted Dr. Vorn of the Centauri Genetics Consortium. We must sequence their DNA immediately. Absolutely not, countered Ambassador T-Lax of the Regelian Protectorate. If this human is truly as powerful as you claim, they represent a clear and present danger to galactic stability. They should be contained, studied from afar. Dr. Akriz oozed into the fray, his neural networks pulsing with concern. Colleagues, please, we're scientists, not politicians. Our duty is to knowledge, not... Knowledge? The new voice cut through the chaos like a plasma torch. On the largest screen, a being of pure energy crackled into existence. Grand Arbiter Zalthax of the Galactic Council fixed the assembled scientists with a gaze that could melt neutronium. "Do you realize what you've done?" Zalthax's voice boomed, causing the station's hull to vibrate. "Reports of your findings have already leaked to the public. Panic is spreading across a dozen systems." Images flashed across secondary screens, riots on low-gravity worlds, runs on survival gear, doomsday cults proclaiming the coming of human overlords. Xyloph felt his heart sink. "Grand Arbiter, I assure you, our intentions were purely academic." "Your intentions are irrelevant," Zalthax thundered. "The reality is that you've upended millennia of established galactic order. And for what? One anomalous species from a backwater death world?" Before anyone could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Mira burst into the room, her feathers in complete disarray. "Dr. Xyloph," she screeched. "It's the human. She's... Spit it out, girl," Xyloph demanded, his tentacles twitching nervously. Mira took a deep breath. "She's requesting access to the station's central power core. Says she wants to try something called hypergravity training and needs more juice." A collective gasp echoed through both the physical and holographic attendees. "Absolutely not!" roared Grand Arbiter Zalthax. "I'm dispatching a containment fleet immediately. That human must be." But the Grand Arbiter's transmission cut off abruptly as the station's lights flickered. A deep bass rumble reverberated through the structure. Dr. Akriz's gelatinous form quivered. "Oh no, she's found the backup generators." As chaos erupted anew, with panicked scientists and bureaucrats shouting over each other, Dr. Xyloph felt a strange calm settle over him. They stood at the precipice of a new era, one where humanity's entry onto the galactic stage would redraw every line and rewrite every rule. For better or worse, the universe would never be the same. And somewhere deep in the station, Lieutenant Kira Donovan's laughter echoed through the halls, a sound that promised both terror and wonder for the galaxy at large. The Galactic Council's emergency session stretched into its third solar cycle. Representatives from 1,000 worlds argued, pleaded, and threatened as they grappled with the implications of humanity's emergence onto the cosmic stage. In the center of the vast chamber, a holographic projection of Earth slowly rotated, its blue-green surface deceptively serene. "Order! I will have order!" Grand Arbiter Zalthax's voice boomed, silencing the cacophony. His energy form crackled with barely contained frustration. "We must reach a consensus on how to proceed." Ambassador T-Lax of the Regellian Protectorate rose, his tentacles quivering. "The solution is obvious. We must quarantine the humans on their death world, for the safety of the galaxy." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly, but they were cut short by an unexpected voice. "With all due respect, Ambassador," Dr. Xyloph interjected, his holographic form shimmering into view, "that ship has already sailed." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Xyloph continued, his skin cycling through determined hues. "In the weeks since our initial encounter, humans have made contact with 17 different species. They've already established trade agreements with the Vex Consortium and have begun cultural exchanges with the Zephyrian Collective." "Impossible," shrieked a representative from the hive mind of Betelgeuse. "How could they have progressed so rapidly?" Xyloph's image was replaced by a series of recordings. Humans scaling sheer cliffs on high-gravity worlds, diving into acidic oceans, and even base jumping from orbital platforms, each feat more death-defying than the last. "What you're witnessing," Xyloph explained, "is humanity's insatiable curiosity in action. They're not just surviving in environments we deemed impossible, they're thriving, adapting, and pushing the boundaries of what we thought possible." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Grand Arbiter Zalthax's energy form dimmed slightly. What are you proposing, Doctor?" Xyloph's hologram expanded, revealing the bridge of a massive ship. Beside him stood Lieutenant Kira Donovan, now sporting the insignia of a full commander. "Members of the council," Kira addressed the stunned assembly, her voice filled with a mixture of respect and challenge. "Humanity doesn't want to conquer or disrupt. We want to explore, to learn, and yes, to test our limits. But we also want to share what we've learned." She gestured, and new holograms sprang to life. Human scientists working alongside alien researchers, human athletes training xenophysiology experts, and most surprisingly, aliens attempting human-style workouts under careful supervision. We propose a new galactic initiative, Xylof continued, one that combines human adaptability and drive with the vast knowledge and experience of the established galactic community. Kira nodded, her eyes gleaming with excitement. Imagine exploration teams capable of charting the most dangerous sectors of space, rescue missions to worlds previously deemed too hazardous, advances in medicine, technology, and fundamental understanding of the universe itself. The council chamber buzzed with a new energy. Fear and suspicion began to give way to cautious optimism and even excitement. Grand Arbiter Zalthax's form pulsed thoughtfully. "And what do you call this? Initiative?" Kira and Xylof exchanged glances before answering in unison, "Project Boundless." In the days and weeks that followed, the galaxy witnessed a transformation unlike any in recorded history. The classification systems of old were rewritten, with Earth and humanity serving as a new benchmark for adaptability and resilience. Universities across the stars opened their doors to human students and teachers alike. Sporting events took on new dimensions as species tested themselves against human limits, and sometimes surprised themselves with their own hidden potential. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Cultural clashes were inevitable, and more than a few diplomatic incidents arose from humans' tendency to push too far. Yet for every setback, there seemed to be a dozen breakthroughs. Deep in uncharted space, aboard the newly christened exploration vessel Boundless, Commander Kira Donovan stood on the bridge, flanked by a crew representing a dozen different species. Dr. Xylof, now serving as the ship's chief science officer, oozed up beside her. "Commander," he said, his skin shimmering with anticipation, "long-range sensors are detecting gravimetric anomalies consistent with a Class 15 singularity." Kira's eyes widened, a grin spreading across her face. "You mean?" Xylof's tentacles waved in confirmation. "Yes. By all previous standards, it should be utterly impossible for any organic life to exist there." A hushed excitement spread through the bridge crew. Kira's grin widened as she gave the order. "Well then, ladies, gentlemen, and beings of all configurations, let's go make the impossible possible." As the Boundless leapt into faster-than-light travel, hurtling towards challenges that would have once been deemed suicidal, a new chapter in galactic history unfurled. Humanity had not just found its place among the stars, it had redefined what it meant to reach for them. The universe, vast and full of wonders, trembled with anticipation. The age of limits was over. The era of boundless potential had begun.